All right, good morning on this sunny, soon to be raining Sunday. We're coming at you on June 11th, and we started recording Eastern Standard Time about 5 to 11, a little bit later start than what we usually do here. But basically, I got a little bit of a rejuvenation when it comes to hobbies and festivals and conventions and things like that. And it sort of came out of the blue because God bless Mrs. Howlermouse, the wife. I got to see a whole side of her that I sort of knew about, but I didn't know she was so into this new scene, at least to me, that I ended up diving straight in and stuff, right? So basically, in a place called Wytheville, Virginia, there was a second annual Wytheville UFO Fest, right? That's what it was called. And I got to tell you, we I went because I'm going to HeroesCon next week. What's up with the hat? And I wanted to make sure I spent time with my wife because I'm gonna be gone for a few days and everything. And this thing popped up on Facebook. I kind of told her about it throughout the week. And then, like the night before, last night, it was Friday night. It was like, hey, let's go. Hey, good morning, comic reader. Great Easy Comic Reader is here. Great to see you, right? There will be comics here, right? So, if you noticed what the title of this show is today, it's Comics and Cryptids, right? Because not only was it like a UFO festival, it was more like a small grassroots convention with a ton of artists and stuff, right? But it was really rejuvenating and things because, like, a long time viewers for you guys that are new and don't realize and stuff is that for years I had a little subplot of me having a little thing going on with the Mothman, where like we were always like butting heads and act like he was stalking me and stuff. And I even have a video where I'm showing comics, and I had tied a little rope to the door and some pots and pans and knocked them over where you couldn't see it, and act like the Mothman busted in on me. And I cut, and when I and put up a little little screen there to say I'll be right back. And when I come back, I'm all clawed up and I painted a black eye and act like I got in a fight with the Mothman. I've always sort of had like the cryptids, the fantasy part, and things like that were there, but by no means am I was I a fanatic about it and stuff. Always kind of like Bigfoot, right? So we go to this festival, and I take my wife in, and you have to understand, in the '90s, I ran into quite a few people who believed in crystals, and they were a little bit hippie-ish and left over from the '60s and the '70s where they missed out on the love. I actually have run into people who they were abducted, and I'm more of an X Files guy, a little bit skeptical. There's a few things going on and stuff, right? So I went into this hesitantly, and man, I was wrong. It ended up being a bunch of artists. The people were there. There was all sorts of other people there who take this stuff very serious and believe very much. And I'm not going to slight them in the bit, right? But if you have me on Instagram, you're going to see some of this haul. If you have me on Facebook, I uploaded pictures of the actual festival, and it was just fantastic. It was just a lot of people believing in a little bit of magic and stuff, right? Now, what I'm going to hey, Fireball Comics is here, right? So before I start showing you that haul and some comics I end up getting at a thing, I want to be respectful here, right? Because over the years and with this hobby of comics and stuff, it used to be there was a word that would set some people off, and it was like the little term. It was the fake comic fan or whatever, right? First of all, I want to respect to this cryptid community and UFO community, and just flat out say that it's not so much that I'm not a believer. It's that I think there's explanations for things, right? I'm a bit of a skeptic. I even have a video up from like 2000. When did I move? 2014, maybe, where I claimed I had a ghost in my house, right? It's up, it's there. I even had bruises on my arms, just saying, and the house got trashed by whatever. But what it is what I'm saying is that, like, way back in the dark ages of humanity or whatever, uh, you would see lightning bugs. Rain would come down, and if you ever been out in the woods or down south or whatever or anywhere, and when it rains, if it's a light sprinkle and stuff at night, all these lightning bugs will start coming out of the trees and the ground, and they hover, and they're like lights dancing around a tree. And people thought those were fairies, right? You see, it's real, but the interpretation is wrong. And that's how I feel about a lot of these things. I don't believe in aliens, but I don't believe in ghosts, but I think there's things out there we don't know about, right? So for this community that's out there, yeah, I respect what you do and everything that's going on, but by no means, my wife's the real fan, right? So basically, what I didn't realize is that there's the Mothman Festival that's up in West Virginia. That's probably like Point Pleasant, West Virginia. That's world famous because of the movies and the Mothman and stuff like that. Then I found out there's more podcasts going on out there that I knew about. There's the Moth Boys. There's the Appalachian Gods or something like that. Dark Gods of the Appalachia. Turns out for 4 or 5 years, this community has really been building, and I don't know if it's just in the Appalachian Mountains and stuff, right? So there's some people on my Instagram that I found. These are like local artists from Abingdon and Bristol and things that I found out, which blew my mind. So some of the stuff I'm going to show you in the hall is to support local artists. I mean, it was just really cool to see these people just doing it, right? I mean, they are making their own comic books. They're doing color. I'll show you what they have. Coloring books. They're making their own mini comics. They're using comic wellspring or something like that to make their stuff. They're doing it, man. So it was just really cool to be there and be at something that's fresh and hasn't been like raped and all that stuff, like, the comic book hobby over the last, 10, 15 years or something like that, right? So it was great to be on the cusp of something there, right? So you got Starry-Eyed Artist 87. I've tagged them on Instagram in my post showing up the hall, Howler Mouse on Instagram. Brett Punk and Cryptid Comforts, and apparently they all know each other. My wife had friends who said they wish they'd, thanks to social media, said, tell me how it was. I wish I was there. And it was so cool because my wife was sitting there like identifying cryptid creatures that they all know about and things, and was in their artwork and stuff. I mean, I was seeing a whole side of her I didn't know was there. I was like, cool. Okay. So yeah, podcasts like Mothman I found out about. I've heard about something called the Dark Gods of the Appalachia. This stuff's been going on for 4 or 5 years heavy, and these people have really been doing it. Now, like I said, in the 90s, the people that I ran into that were into this stuff would claim to have been abducted by aliens and stuff. So I went in with a stereotype in my head, and I apologize for that, but it happens. Hey, what's up? So we're going to show the hall here, have a little fun with it. And we have Easy Comic Reader we've said hello to this morning. We have Orloff Sear. Good morning. We have Fireball Comics. Great to see you, brother. We have our foreign correspondent, Paulo Costa. It's great to see you, man. And Dennis Hayes. Dennis Hayes is out there. What's up, man? So I ran into a lot of old friends that I hadn't seen in a while, which was really cool. We just bumped in long enough to say hello and me to introduce my wife to him and stuff, right? So the first thing I want to show here is by, where's this guy's name now? Brett Marcus Cook. All right. We actually sort of geeked out at his stuff. We don't have, there's a few things that my wife bought that I don't see here, but that's all right. But anyway, he had a $30 graphic novel that he done. He had these mini comics that he did. So he'd completed. So I got the mini comic, Lost Machines, World Gone Weird. And of course, it's for mature readers, and he appropriately labeled it. See, I think that's all it takes, in my opinion, telling you what it contains and stuff, right? It's called 1+2, and I have not read this, right? But I love the fact that they just do it, right? They just do it. They just go out there and they have the vision, they do the art, they put it out there, and that was just inspiring, man. I have a bunch of like half comics that I've done. I've had sketches and little outlines and stuff, and just really never really completed it and stuff, right? So I have no idea what the story is going to be about. But I mean, I just love the fact that he did it. That's just so fantastic, right? Then he had all kinds of other art in postcards. That's the Mothman. I love the colors. Just out there doing it's just fantastic. Then there's some other artists that were out there. This is my wife's stuff, right? Yeah, somebody took a X-ray of some lungs or whatever this is and made a tree out of it. That's a sticker. If you love Cthulhu, we have a lot of ink wash, black and white artists out there that just did some fantastic stuff. And we have some bookmarks, and I just absolutely love these. Yeah, if you're into crows and ravens, right? That's and like I said, the artists, they have their birdsway.com. So yeah, there's all kinds of ways to get a hold of these people and see them online. But they were just, like I said, it was more like, I know the theme of it was like cryptid and UFOs and things like that, but so many great artists there. And this, now I want to show you this. I actually had the lady sign this and stuff, right? The energy that she did on this and stuff, right? And like, it's not going to blow you away, but it's the fact that she did it and she's out there doing these conventions. I don't know if it's going to show up, but I asked her to sign it, and you could tell she was real happy with that, right? But she did her own coloring book of a squonk, right? So apparently there's cryptid creatures of the Appalachia that I never heard of. Apparently there's a squonk, whatever this is. I mean, I thought this was something out of Rick and Morty or something. And then there's something called Not a Deer, and Mothman is huge. But I love the fact that she made her own coloring book. It feels like a coloring book. And then when you open it up, it's exactly what you would think it is. It's telling a little story of the squonk running around. This is like, I am looking into just a whole different world in fandom. All right, so yeah, I bought that, and just trying to support local artists, and it blew my mind how many people were from Abingdon and Bristol and Johnson City, and somebody's from Kingsport. Those are all about an hour and a half in a circle around me, if you will, right? So that's why I was fine spending a little bit of money. I was just sort of like, I'm actually giving to the people making this stuff, and they're out there doing these conventions. And then when I was in high school, just to let everybody know, there are comics coming. Here's the stack. Okay, want to finally get around to it. But when I was in high school, I grew up in a town where Wytheville, Virginia, was about an hour and a half drive, and back then it was 55 all the way, and it felt like a world apart, and you were never going to get there. So it blew my mind when Unsolved Mysteries, if you remember that TV show with Robert Stack, came on, and it talked about this UFO sighting in Wytheville, Virginia, that happened in 1987. And it was a parking lot full of people, plenty of witnesses and stuff like that. And I was just sort of like, why haven't I heard more about this? Well, I met the people who were there, and actually, and one of the people were actually on Unsolved Mysteries. And of course, they look exactly like you would think. But I actually sat down, got my picture with them, talked to them, and apparently they're local celebrities. I was probably the only guy there, didn't realize who they were. But it's Danny B. Gordon and Paul Derringer. And for $15, I bought their book, Don't Look Up, The Real UFO Behind the Virginia, the real story behind the Virginia UFO sightings, right? And I've actually stood in that parking lot many, many times, right? So this is the story of the government cover-ups and everything that they did and everything they showed in Unsolved Mysteries and stuff. And of course, their local authors doing their book. And of course, I got them to sign it, right? So yeah, this was like a lot of fun, right? And now for the fun stuff that I fell in love with, right? We bought this, right? This dude made little aliens out of wooden eggs, it feels like, okay? But what is great is that he gives you their alien green card and talks about them a little bit. Like I said, just a lot of fun with this, a lot of creativity. So apparently with the Fraggle Hair alien here, he is Bean. He is from Farkle. He likes Culture Club and hats, and he dislikes Brussels sprouts. Date of immigration, June 9th, 2023. So let's not separate him from his immigration card there. That would go bad. The wife actually bought me this, a plush toy of the Mothman, which I absolutely love. And like I said, for you guys that are coming in a little bit later in the show, for years on this channel, I had an ongoing little fun subplot of me and the Mothman, telling stories about the Mothman supposedly like stalking me and stuff. And I made that one video where, I cut from showing comic books, acted like he busted in the bedroom on me. And then when I came back, I had a painted on black eye and a ripped up shirt and act like I just got in a fight with him. So let's hope this thing doesn't go all Chucky on me and try to get me in the night. You want to fit anywhere? If you see him creeping up behind me, let me know. Right. And then my wife loves the idea of the Loch Ness Monster. So she got a plush toy of the Loch Ness Monster. And then the fun stuff that I got was I have a lanyard, and every now and then I'll pick up little pins and stuff like this. But when I see the count, I love that joke that people have where they're like, "Who's your favorite vampire?" And they'll say the Count off of Sesame Street, and somebody will say, "Well, that doesn't count," and they're like, "Oh, I assure you, he does." So yeah, we have that little pin. And then one of my favorite movies of all time, we have Mrs. Wallace and Vinny Vega dancing there at the twist competition because she wants that trophy, and she is going to have that trophy. So we have those. And just a few other little things, not a whole lot. Yeah. So yeah, and then of course, like I said, to UF convention. So they're like, it's not a balloon, is what that says. This is supposed to be a spaceship with a tractor beam pulling you up into the spaceship. It took me a little while to figure out what that was because my mind doesn't go that way. And this one says it's a dinosaur, and it's that humor that you either get or you don't. But it's like all my friends are dead. That's morbid humor. So there's a few other things, but that's what I just grabbed to bring down here, saying I had a really good time, and it just blew me that there's a whole other fandom going on, and I had a few friends into it that just seems to have evolved around me. And it was like a lot of fun. It was finally like a lot of fun just to be in something that was fresh and new. People were motivated about and very positive. And it just kind of made me wish that the comic book stuff could kind of go back to that era a little bit, but it all comes back around. It all comes back around. So now we're going to get into the comics. Oh, somebody got my joke. Nice, thanks, Paolo. Okay, so some of the things that I got here, we may open this at the end of the video, but I have a wax pack of Bone trading cards back from the 90s and stuff, right? So I got on eBay and I couldn't pass this up. And I didn't go looking for this. eBay sent me an email like based on things that I look for, this may be for me. So I found a pack of Bone trading cards, the basic set. And this was $7, including shipping for all 90 cards. So yeah, I had to grab that. I don't have to bust open my wax pack, and I really don't worry too much about finding those chase cards, if you know what I'm talking about from them, right? So yeah, that impulse buying, man, I try to stay away from, but that's a great deal. And I have quite a collection of movie trading cards that I think are awesome. So in my travels and things, it's really cool. I've been keeping an eye on this book just to complete it. And this is a minor character who has a lot more appearances. I'm always impressed when a comic book writer will pull up obscure characters like this and do something with them, right? This character actually popped up in Swamp Thing when Mark Miller was writing it, sort of, kind of. This character also is responsible he kind of played Loki, bringing together the Avengers a little bit when it came to the JSA getting back together in that, what was it, 99, 2000, when we had James Robinson, Dave Goyer bringing back the JSA, and then Jeff Johns took over and sort of had his rise to fame. The JSA ongoing book of the early 2000s is one of those most unheralded runs ever, which was fantastic. But this character here was a Steve Ditko, Paul Levitt's creation. And it was in, I think, either it was the sales or the DC implosion of 1977, where a bunch of books were canceled after DC. Janet Kahn actually had, published more books. She had DC publishing more books. And then we had the blizzard of 77. People couldn't get out to buy comics, so they bombed, right? They canceled a whole bunch of stuff, thus the DC implosion. Left out a few important details, but that's the gist, right? But to me, this is a classic. There's 4 issues. There's actually a story about how it got an extra issue before it got canceled. I think it was probably sales and stuff, right? But basically, I don't know, Marvel had something going on at the time of the Bronze Age where they had some fantasy books, sword and sorcery kind of books taken off. Paul Levitz was sitting in an office, and Carmine Infantino, who was the publisher of DC at the time, was like, hey, man, we need 3 books of fantasy and stuff, right? So Paul Levitz sat there and was like, I got an idea. So what he did is that, I love my Michael Moorcock Elric books, my Eternal Champion books. Well, he wrote this in the mindset of a Moorcock story, a Michael Moorcock story of Elric a little bit. And he came up with Stalker, the man who wanted to be immortal, ended up losing his soul, and then went on a quest to get his soul, because basically not having a soul is not very good at all. And it has 2 legends on it. Steve Ditko drawing it with Wally Wood art. That's pretty much the whole reason I'm getting it. And I just love how he has actually popped up in the DC universe, Vertigo universe, here and there, people remembering him. and getting it right. So yeah, there was 4 issues, and what was really cool about it was the thing was going to get canceled. Like they said, no more comics. Paul Levitz didn't get it. It wasn't sales. He didn't get it. Carmine Infantino did not like the book. He didn't understand it. So he said, well, we'll have to cancel it. Well, what happened was is that they'd already done the orders and advertised that there was going to be a 4th issue. So Carmine was like, yeah, just put out the, don't worry about, everything else. Just put out the 4th issue, then close it and stuff. Right. So this was a book that we don't know what the sales were or if it was popular. It's supposedly going by lore, legend and lore and word of mouth over the years and stuff, was basically because the publisher just didn't get it. I'm like, if you have that mindset of things, we never would have had Conan because Stan Lee didn't get the idea of Conan in comics, with the covers and stuff like that, right? So can you imagine Stan Lee saying, "Hey man, I don't get it," and they just canceled Conan back in the 70s? So yeah, since he didn't get it, I like the idea of the old school guys having an attitude like in music and stuff, where they were just their whole attitude was like, "All right, I don't know what it is, but put it out there. Let's see what it does." They would just put it out there. It's when the young guys come in, or the guys who hold on to yesterday too long, where they think they know what people want, and they think they know better, and they think they get that attitude of like, we're not going to give them what they want, we're going to give them what they deserve, and think those arrogant ideas and stuff like that. It's when people experiment and put out things and let's see what it does and give it a shot and give it a chance, and then making an informed decision that real creativity comes from, in my opinion. So anyway, I've told many, many, many times how I've been like, stepdad and the uncle had comic books, and I'd grab them on a Sunday and I'd jump on the bed and I'd read them and I loved them, and I still have some of those books, blah, blah, blah. Well, every now and then I'll have to get an upgrade, or I'll have to replace it when I find a good deal. Now I'm looking at this book and I'm looking at the shape of it, and it might have been an impulsive buy, but I got a pretty good deal on it. So it is what it is, right? But as a kid, I love the Fantastic Four, and this giant size Fantastic Four that I looked at. This is one of those books I looked at over and over because it had gangsters and time travel, and Johnny Storm had his red outfit on, and I think Medusa is in it or something, right? This was an odd era of the Fantastic Four because Kirby was gone, and they came out and stuff, right? But yeah, I'm already looking at it. It's got a dog-eared corner down here. I may have paid too much. That's all right. Anyway, but yeah, this giant size Fantastic Four #2. And I think this is supposedly a key book because it has the first appearance of a character named Tempest back when there was buzz about some Marvel movies and things going on, and Kang and all this stuff like that. But I legitimately read this book over the years, going back to it to where the cover fell off. And I do have it in the box, and I think the cover is folded over and it's floating around on its own in the boxes and stuff, right? But this was just a fascinating book. Everything about it was just said comic books. Everything you could do, and the storytelling and everything you packed in there, and the time travel and all the absurdity to it that made perfect sense. That was the magic of comics in this. It wasn't that I was a kid. It's that the comic had the magic. There was just the magic in it. Things happening left and right. Hey, Crack, what's up? So yeah, Stalker and those 2 books I got at I don't know. I stopped somewhere on the side of the road, and they happened to have comic books in there, but it was a card shop. And I talked them down. I think I got both these for like $10 or something, right? In, out, no big deal, right? So after the Cryptid and after the Wytheville UFO Fest and Festival, the wife and I went out to eat. We hit Petco, got the lizard some food, crickets and worms and all this stuff. And then we ate some Japanese, and I went out to an antique shop that was in town, which was cool. And she was loading pictures or just talking to her friends or something on social media, talking about the show, and it was good stuff. So I ran in there and I grabbed a few dollar books at one of my favorite honey holes. And it was kind of fun. But like I said, next week I have Heroes Con. So, I was being real conservative here, keeping in the budget, being disciplined, if you will, right? But one of the things I had to get this because this has got to be a Eastman and or Laird cover. It's an Eastman cover, right? But, I love my Ninja Turtles, guys. My Teenage Ninja Turtles, right? And it's one of the few things where I'm just satisfied with my 86 to about 1991, 92 turtles. That era is enough for me. I'm so happy and great that they have the movies, and the IDW's been doing a book for what, like 12, 13 years. It's been a while. IDW's had the license for a while, and I know about them being sold, and they have all the cartoons. My favorite version of the cartoon is the Nickelodeon one from the early 2000s. And, it just amazes me that we're about to hit the 40th anniversary of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, guys. 40 years next year, right? So for $1, I saw this, and I think my Turtles era actually ends, and I'm pretty sure it was like the last 12 issues of the Mirage Studios number 50 to like 62 or something. It was called City of War. I could get right here on this shelf. It's one of these two here. I could turn around there and pull out some of the books and stuff, right? But I saw this square bound cover on this oversized issue 99 for $1. That is just beautiful. And it's got like this great Eastman cover, and apparently he's helping do the plots. I don't know. This is probably from about the last year or something like that somewhere. So yeah, I had to grab this for $1. There was no question about it. This is going to go on the shelf of just little things like that. I love I love the callback to that era, and the art style is exactly to me how the turtles should be, but like I said, man, they're alive and going and everything. That's cool. Now, E-Man, I'm next at Heroes Con. I'm going back to Joe Staton because years ago I met Joe Staton. And if you ever want to see a workhorse, you need to look up a bibliography of Joe Staton and see how for 50 years this guy has put out, I almost want to say thousands of comics. I almost want to say that. I'm almost fine saying that. But turns around, I went through and I have all kinds of stuff by this guy. And I remember finally sitting there talking to him at Heroes Con a couple years ago. And I said, if I wanted to bring you something to sign that is like the ultimate Joe Staton, what would it be? And I swear, I think he said E-Man. I want to have to ask him again, right? So there was 10 issues of E-Man from Charlton Comics in the 70s. And I think First Comics brought him back in with the original team and stuff, right? And Joe Staton was the artist. Albert Einstein, quantum physics equals MC square, plays a big part in this being of energy turning into matter, and having his sidekick Nova Kane, that's her real name and stuff, right? But it plays around with quantum physics. It's a little bit of satire, a little comedy, a little humor. It's exactly what it should be. It's just, I mean, to me, this is a funny book, which is exactly what it should be. But the magic of the Charlton Comics, especially 1975, and I want to say that it was like the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 issues, was a guy named John Byrne. Now, if you got a comic or magazine that was called Charlton Bullseye, you would have got the first appearance of this character I want to show you, right? And I remember reading these as a kid. I think my uncle actually had these books, right? Not that there weren't, I don't know. Anyway, but John Byrne was doing this robot out in the trashy 70s real world called Raj 2000. And thanks to everybody talking about the X-Men and learning words through reading and stuff, I wasn't the one that did it, but a lot of people called them Rogue 3000. Is it 2000 or 3000 after I'm sitting here? Yeah, it's 2000, right? But it's just some fun John Byrne art, man. The stuff he was doing on this was so much better than the stuff that he was doing on Doomsday +1. So if you're a John Byrne fanatic, want some of that early stuff, you might want to try to track down some of this E-Man from Charlton Comics and all those dollar boxes and beat up and stuff. And I think around 81 or 82, a one-shot came out. Now I've seen the one-shot, and I don't know exactly who the company is that did it. But I think somebody collected all the Raj 2000 stories and reprinted them. And there's 2 or 3 prints out there, and I'm probably going to look them up on eBay when I'm done here, right? But if you're a John Byrne fan, that robot Raj, it's just some fun stuff. I saw him do that drawing style again when he did some What the comics in the humor comic in the late 80s, early 90s from Marvel. I'm all over the place this morning, man. Okay, to see who is out there. We got quite a few people here. Comic Crack has joined us. Good morning, Crack. Great to see you. Check out his channel. Now, some things I just can't turn down. Sometimes I just want to give some of these books a home. I'll have certain books I'll do You just buy multiple copies and stuff because I'm like, that might be a little bit better. I need a reader copy and stuff. And I have this whole crossover in trade. But when I look at it, I think of this era, 1990, 91. Yeah, 1990, 91. I'm a junior, senior in high school. And John Byrne is everywhere, right? He's doing Wonder Woman. Seems like I saw him do some other covers or something like that, right? And then at this point, you've gotten into the flow that these Marvel and DC every year they're going to have some company crossover with all their books. You're kind of expecting it. And then this War of Gods came out. But at the same time this War of Gods came out, George Perez had been penciling Infinity Gauntlet. You're just sort of like, oh my God, he's everywhere. All right. And War of the Gods definitely suffered for it, right? But the freaking art on this cover is fantastic. I've got a full run of this. I have they actually numbered the War of Gods crossover with all the books that it crossed over. They're all numbered, so you know the order to read them and stuff, right? They come with little mini posters inside, right? But this looks like this came right off the rack. And of course, it's a newsstand copy if you're into that. But anyway, George Perez did the cover, he did the plot, he did the breakdown. Cynthia Martin came in and finished up the pencils, and some people did things. But George Perez was just spread so thin around this era that I think this really suffered. Now, this book also led to him leaving DC by choice because he felt like DC did not get behind it. This was supposed to have been an anniversary crossover where Wonder Woman was supposed to be the main focus, and DC just did not get behind it. So after all that work he did and everything like that, this kind of led to him just kind of moving on. And we heated up like on Ultra Force, doing a lot of indie books, Epic, and the Epic line of comics from Marvel. He ended up doing sax and violin. We got to see him everywhere doing pinups for Spawn. It was actually kind of cool. To me, it was like, it was really cool to be able to see him go elsewhere and kind of spread, do another era of spreading his wings. And actually, this is popping in my head, but I love this story. But it might have been around this time that Image had popped up about a year later. All right, this might have helped him make a decision to leave DC. I think here, right? Sorry, I'm talking comic book lore here, right? But basically, what happened is, I think around 92 or 93. George Perez was at a convention, and the little kid came up. There was a big line to, get George to do sketches or sign his books and stuff like that. And this little kid was like, "Man, I love your stuff. Maybe one day you'll be as big as Todd McFarlane," not realizing who he was. And of course, I don't know if he had handlers or people at the convention. They were wanting to say something, and George was like, "No, it's all right." And George Perez was such a great guy. He didn't take that as an insult. He knew there was another generation of kids coming into the comic books and stuff like that. So he was like, I have to push myself and keep getting better to keep up with the new breed. He took it as he learned from it and made it something positive to keep going. It was fantastic, man. All right, Graphic Man has popped in here. Hey, would have loved to see the Dave Cockrum and Byrne rotate. Would have loved to see Dave Cockrum and John Byrne rotate and stay on the X-Men year after year. And unfortunately, all things end. Yeah, I totally get that. That was really a magic era, Graphic Man. Everybody check out Graphic Man's channel. Great. All right, getting back to the comics and stuff, right? So I don't know what happened. I think I'm about to change online comic book stores. There may be a whole video about that. I don't know. We'll see what's going on. But they're getting behind in my orders. There's all kinds of books that I know have come out and they've yet to be put in my queue, to be put in the box and mailed to me, right? And this is some of the books that didn't even show up that I can recall, or because I'm pretty sure I had a subscription to this or something, right? And I do know that Sam Keith got way behind, right? But yeah, Batman in the Max by Sam Keith, a crossover, issues 3 and 4. I have issue 1 and 2, and then I have the reprint they did to remind people of issue 1 and 2 they put together because Sam Keith got so behind on the book. He's like, I'm back on track. I'm going to get it. And I never saw these solicited through my online store. So there may be a video where, I'm going to try to find another online store, and feel free to tell me if you guys have a store you order online from. I'm kind of looking at My Comic Shop, used to be Lone Star Comics or something, right? But I love Sam Keith art. I can look at it all day long. And of course, Max, huge fan of the melancholy, very 90s sad book, of the Max, So now this is going to go in my Dungeons and Dragons box, right? So if you saw my last video, I got the first issue of Dragonlance. Before that, I got the first issue of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and I got almost the entire run except like maybe one issue of Forgotten Realms. TSR took the license and gave it to DC in the late 80s, early 90s to do some books. And what was great about it is they had guys like Jeff Grubb, who actually worked on the D&D stuff, writing stories and being involved, right? So over the years, I kind of pick up some D&D stuff, but my Dungeons and Dragons years were 13 to 18 with the exact people I did a campaign with, and that's kind of why I got out with it, because when they all grew up and everybody moved away and scattered and they got all along with their lives, I'm still in high school and I played with another group and just wasn't the same, so I went on. But apparently this kind of cracks me up because I had like the first 2 or 3 seasons of Rick and Morty, I think, are gold. After that, it's not my thing too much anymore. But I had to get these issues of Rick and Morty. These were $1 versus Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I knew this was coming out. I didn't get it in solicitation. I've seen the hardback, that trade that puts these together. Who knows? Maybe I'll sample these and back up and get them, right? But number 1, they had various covers, and number 3 with a Dungeon Master on it. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to end up like maybe framing this. If you have anything with Dungeon Master on it, you can just take my money. But yeah, I'll be able to check these out. Rick and Morty versus Dungeons and Dragons. And I really hope it's not like the humor isn't the bathroom humor. I hope it's not like low scale filth, just to crack you up, shock humor. I hope it's smartly written. And I also hope that it's written in a way that if you play Dungeons and Dragons, you'll get some of the in jokes and stuff, right? Second edition, that's my thing. That was my thing, And then, speaking of Dragonlance, apparently I put this in the stack. I showed this last week, so maybe I'm just keeping them all together to keep organizing the books. And the very last thing I got, Disney is very smart on some things, and it's the fact that they know how to sprinkle Carl Barks, Disney comic stories and these reprints and stuff. They know how to sprinkle them out there and stuff, right? And I'm really just going to have to settle down and invest and just get a Carl Barks collection, see what they have out there, right? But anyway, I got this. This is Walt Disney Comics. Check out this number, guys, right? Number 639. Right. And these are square bound editions. And around here, I would find these at dollar stores, my friend. Dollar stores. I don't even know if comic book shops carry these and stuff, right? And anyway, these are reprints of old Disney comics, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, whatever and stuff, right? And you'll get about, I don't know, about 4, 5, 6 stories in there, and they put the creator on the inside of the cover. And there's always 1 or 2 by Carl Barks, right? That's why I'm saying that one of the few things, whoever it is that puts these comics together, know exactly what they're doing. So here's the inside of these, and that's your issues, the year it came out, and the creative team on it. And like I said, they usually put in 1 or 2 Carl Barks stories. This one has A Helper's Helping Hand, story and art, Carl Barks, December 1963. And what's funny is I think I know this. I think I have an old Dale or something with it in it. That's so funny. The rest of them, maybe. I don't know if they're new or not. They're not really giving a year on them. But it's got that old Disney magic in it and stuff, right? So, yeah. So these are just fun stuff, man. Like you can have your universe-spanning stories where everybody's going to die at the snap of a finger of a megalomaniac who likes to come out there and give his big speech. We know all the jokes and stuff, and then sometimes you just want to see funny animals having a little bit of a crisis and discovering secret cities underneath the ocean. You just never know. And Yeah, I think that's it on it, right? So that's a tight little quick showing of a little comic book haul and some cryptid creatures and me just going on and on about having a fun weekend yesterday. So next week is Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina, right? And it looks like, cross our fingers, if nothing crazy happens, I was able to get a day off work. After that is Juneteenth, which is a Monday, the 19th. That is now a holiday, so I get that day off, right? So that leaves Friday and Saturday and possibly Sunday. I've already bought my ticket for that 3-day pass to save some money. My buddy has got the hotel room. I am driving. Gas will be provided. And of course, there's going to be a few things going on, and we're going down there, right? And if you look at the list of creators at Heroes Con, I'm trying to get a little bit of time to go through my books and get a few things signed this year. I don't know about what kind of haul I'm going to get down there, right? But sadly enough, I hate to take a moment here to be a dark cloud, but going to these conventions over the years and then watching the comic book news over the years when it was worth clicking on, you realize that a lot of these guys that provided for your childhood and enriched it a little bit are getting long in the tooth, and they're not going to be around much longer, right? And I have lucked up meeting some of these creators before they passed away. Joe Sennett, Perez, Dave Cockrum, a few people over the years. So we're going to get out there, right? So now I have to decide what books I want to try to get signed. I'm hearing things, I'm getting feedback like I would love to get Mike Grail. I've been wanting to see Mike Grail for the last 2-3 years. Might get Mike Grail to sign something. Also have a piece of art I'd like to show him of the Warlord, but I like to get him to sign either the first appearance of Travis Morgan Warlord or the first Warlord. And feedback got to me that he charges $20 per signature. I don't know what to think about that. I might get my Micronauts #1 and get Mike Golden to sign that. I've had several things signed by him. And then I have a lot of things by Art Adams and signed, and maybe I'd like to try to get Chris Claremont, try to sign that to get, some multiple signatures on books. John Romita Jr. is going to be there, and a few other people. So yeah, I'm going to be trying to decide what to get signed. So if you are going to Heroes Con, give me a yell on Instagram. I'm Hallermouse on Instagram. And if you want to comment or something of a few books that you would get signed by them, let me know. To give me an idea if you've seen the creators list, right? So a lot of fun stuff coming up. A lot of hardbacks I'm going to be looking at about taking out there to get signed. And I think I want to have to get a little flea market cart and put my short box full of the comics I want to get signed to stroll around. In 30 years, give or take a few years, I never thought I'd be that guy at the con. So, and I keep this stuff, right? All right, so that's it, man. Hopefully, the next show we do, we'll be talking about the con. Maybe I'll be doing it from a hotel room. I don't know, but make sure you like, subscribe, and sub. I might be coming live from Charlotte next time. I don't know. Depends on the time. You know how it is when you have responsibilities in this world that never end. And thanks for everybody that's popped in here this morning. Thanks for spending a little time. Sorry it was a little bit later today. And we're going to get on with our day, man. But Heroes Con, convention time, enjoy the summer, go out and see things, try new things, and have a good one. Hey, what's this? Hey, hotel show, wear the complimentary bathrobe. I might do it. And I want to tell them, Paolo, that this was like, Paolo wished to see this. And I would be like, there you go. And it's Scott Connor and I are going to be down there tomorrow. So if there's another robe down there, we might do it. That'd be awesome. All right, guys. Now I'm looking forward to the show. I'm ready to do one in bathroom slippers and in a robe, and that's it. All right, later, guys. Be excellent. Have a great weekend.